Hey guys, Chris here from the Aluminum Fishing Series podcast, and we're kicking off season 3. Hot right now. All right, the fishing world is tumbling around like crazy, and if you don't know this next guest, then you don't really follow the sport of fishing. He's been everywhere. He is an FLW, a former FLW pro, now MLF pro. He is an Elite Series pro. He is fishing the NPFL. He is doing everything. Every trail, every professional trail known to man, you know it. He's in it, and he may even be a Redfish Tour guy now too. So we're gonna get into that topic as well. But guess what, guys? He does it all out of an aluminum boat, and that's why we have him on the podcast. He is part of the family, Mr. John Cox. What's up, man?
Hey, Chris. Hey, man. Thanks for having me on.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. Listen, this podcast is all about aluminum boats. You know, we love pushing the aluminum agenda because we love them, and this is
Right.
our family. You know, this is the brand that I created is all about aluminum boats. You've been in
hmm
an aluminum boat for a very long time.
hmm
Um, when did you actually start fishing in an aluminum rig?
I mean, from day one, I mean, the very first boat I ever got was a 12-foot aluminum rowboat. Me and my mom, we bought it at a garage sale for like $75, and put the deck in it, put the trolling motor on the front, had a 5 horse that would get on plane by myself, but as soon as I put someone else in it, it would just plow.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
but and then it's crazy. I mean, I was probably 12 then, and started fishing the John Boat Club out of it. So we were all aluminum boat guys. So it was really cool, kind of growing up and having all these. A lot of the guys were older than me and stuff. So I like learned a lot from them and stuff. And man, it was crazy. It was like I kind of fought it at times because you feel like, oh, I need to have this fiberglass boat.
Mm-hmm.
The other guys are all running fiberglass. And it was like anytime I had one, like either the motor would break or like something would put me out of it. And I would end up fishing the event in someone's aluminum boat,
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm.
and I've just been in one. I mean, I've been fishing the professional tournaments for, I think, 15 years now, and I've been in an aluminum boat for 14 years of it. So,
I love it. I love it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's in aluminum. This is why I started the brand too. It's you almost consider aluminums to be almost a stepping stone when we started anyways.
hmm
And back in our time, it was you get in the aluminum boat because it was a little cheaper, a little easier to
hmm
maintain,
Yep.
and you could use that as a vessel to get out there and get competitive.
hmm
And now, over the last 10 years, it's exploded.
Yeah.
And, now we're not thought of as the ugly stepchild anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're out
Yeah.
there. You're racking up some wins, a lot of TV time, a lot of great promotion for Crestliner and Vexus,
hmm
which we'll get into in a bit.
hmm
But you got a lot of guys that are running Expresses and
Yep.
Vexus as well. A lot of these really top brands, and it's just showing you the versatility of an aluminum rig. So
And they've
it's
come along so far too, which is
I know.
incredible. Every year, you get in one, you're like, wow. I'm like, you almost forget you're an aluminum one, So
Mm-hmm.
it is very impressive how much they've come in the last 10, 12 years for sure.
True. And I haven't had the pleasure yet. So I've never ridden in a Crestliner. I've
hmm
never ridden in a Lund. I've never ridden in a Vexus, even though
hmm
there have been some Vexuses running my trail.
Right.
Um, I rode my first aluminum was a Ranger RT
Yep.
188, and that
Yep.
was before the transition with the Johnny Morris stuff. So I
Right.
felt like it was built a bit better.
hmm
Um, my boat now, I did trackers, with my buddy for a handful of years, but before I could,
Right.
afford my own, my first brand new boat was that Ranger, and I
Right.
loved it. Gave it to him, and I went into a G3,
Yep.
which it's not the top of the line boat. I'll say that
Right.
right now, but it's good for what I do. And a
Right.
lot of guys have those, trackers or smaller boats with those 115s, 90s on it because it fits their style of fishing.
Right.
Like if you're river fishing, you're not going to need a 200 or 250, right?
No. hmm
You're fun fishing in your backyard pond. You may not even need a 50. You may need a
Right.
25 or a 30.
Right.
It's very dependent on the type of fishing you do. And,
Right.
eventually everybody wants that bigger boat, right?
Right.
Myself
Yeah.
included. I kind of want one, but I missed the
Yeah.
boat because after 2020, things just went skyrocketed high. I
Right.
can't I can't
They,
afford a big one right now.
yeah. Right.
So I'm stuck in the G3, which I want to kind of get rid of next year and go to maybe an Express. But I'm
Yeah.
interested to hear what you say, because you might be able to turn my mind into a Vexus. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so let's get into that for a little bit, because
Okay.
this is the conversation that I'm very excited to have.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with Crestliner.
Okay.
And I'm a business guy. I love the business aspect of things.
Mhm.
How did the partnership with Crestliner start?
So it's kind of a crazy story. So me and Keith, we he bought a 17-foot Crestliner with a 50 horse on it from a used car lot, and we were going to use it for alligator hunting. You know, I think he paid 5 grand for it, whatever it was. I was doing a guide trip out of it, and I got rear-ended. They broke the motor off, knocked it off the trailer. We ended up getting the insurance, but we put a 75 horse on it. Took it to the first. It was our first year fishing the FLW tour. It was at the Red River. It was flooded. I took that boat up there and won the tournament out of it, which is great. And I've really. I destroyed Keith's poor boat that he just spent all that money, and then, so the 2 times I had it, I get in a wreck, they break the motor off, and then I use it in the tournament, win the tournament, but really jack it up, kind of, going through that pipe and like having to bend it to get it back out and stuff. But
Yep, yep.
so my buddy Jeremy Starks was calling. He used to fish the elites and stuff. He started going around calling Crestliner, and he like build this relationship with them, and then he worked that deal out for me for that first Crestliner I ever got, because I was trying to, at that point in time, I was trying to get in a big fiberglass boat, and I would go to the bank and they would be like, well, what's your job? And I was like, well, I do some guide trips, I paint with Keith some, fish these tournaments. And they were like, hey, we can't loan you that much money, And
Yeah,
Crestliner
yeah.
was good enough to, they gave me a very good discount on the boat. And I was
Okay.
actually able to go into the bank and pull a loan on it, and use some of that money for entry fees, and then pay Crestliner for the boat. And that's kind of where it all started. And man, it was just 14 years of that. It was just it's so cool. It was such a, it was just it was an awesome time for sure.
Now, how do you structure a deal like that, though? And I mean, it was your first deal, right, with Crestliner, but
Yeah.
like, what was part of it? What came with it?
I'll have to say, like, Jeremy Starks really, laid it out. It was like, hey, we can get you, this boat. I think it ended up being like 50% off, which at the time was great. They were cheap then. I think I got I want to say maybe it was an 18 with a 150, or maybe a 19 with a 150.
Mhm.
So it was looking. I think they gave me the loan for like, back then, gosh, I probably got the loan for like maybe 22,000, 23,000. Paid them their whatever it was, and then had
Mhm.
maybe 2 or 3 entries I could pay with the leftover money. And
Nice.
that was the first year. It was talking to him, and he already had that. I feel like if he didn't have that relationship with the people that were there at the beginning, from talking to them, trying to work this out, I don't think they would have helped me. They were helping me out. I was boatless. I was borrowing boats, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was just they took a chance, I guess.
Isn't that on your bio? It says you were living at your parents' house when you won that tournament,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that
So
the
when I
one?
won, yes, that's I'm getting chills thinking of it. Like I didn't have like many goals in life, and one of them was to one day move out of my parents' house. That was, I had 2 little kids. Like, it was rough. My brother was still living there. It's like a 1,000 square foot house, so it's like, it's tiny. And man, when I won that tournament, I bought a house. Like I went and bought a house right down the street, and then
Yep.
and it was a lake full of fish and stuff, and it was just well, it
That's
was it
awesome.
was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. All right. So back on the Crestliner deal, though.
Mhm.
So when you structure something like that, is it all just, hey, we're going to give you promotion from, the wrapped part of the boat, that promotion driving around the country, or
Yeah.
was there a social media aspect? I don't know if social media was that
Yeah,
huge back
I
then.
don't know if it was as big then. It was just starting to come around.
Yeah.
It was mostly at that point in time. I feel like it was more boat show driven.
Yeah.
Where they were
Okay.
like, "Hey, can you come show up at these boat shows?" So it was like, I worked, a handful of boat shows. I would go to the photo shoot and they'd use me, like, instead of hiring some kind of talent in for, to drive the boats around, I would drive some of the boats around, do whatever, pretty much whatever they told me to do. And,
Okay.
at the time, that was my only, uh, besides like getting a discount on the motor and stuff from Mercury and stuff, like, I just didn't really have, anything really going besides. I mean, that was really, they were really helping me out. Um, and I became such good friends with them. Like, they would come down, in the winter, and we'd fish, and the relationship was, I mean, it was, I spent so much time with those people.
Yeah. Well, you were
They,
one of their
kind of.
first big names. You know what I mean? Right
Well,
on
and
the professional
I wasn't
side.
even I wasn't anybody, I wasn't anybody. I felt like they were more like, hey, this kid's willing to work. He's willing to come to these shows. He doesn't have, he's trying to make this work, with two little kids. So I think,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you also, I mean, you were the only one running Crestliner. That was
Yeah.
it. I don't know any other pros. There might be one or two that I don't know much of, but you were the only one running Crestliner.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's huge promotion in itself. I mean, you've probably done, I'm sure Crestliner is doing pretty good because your name was behind it. So it was a shock when I saw that you changed over to the Vexus line.
Yeah.
I know how good they are, those boats. I mean, that's so. I don't know if I want to get into it yet. I guess we just should. So, all right. So you structure a deal with Crestliner.
Yeah.
You have this for 14 years.
Hmm.
Build up this great relationship. I don't think your rap has changed,
Hmm. I
in
mean,
your
they've
whole
been on there
career.
from, yeah.
And all of a sudden, this year we make a change, staying in the aluminum family. Now you're structuring a deal with Vexus. Now, was the deal with Crestliner already done?
Uh, no, well, so it it throughout the years it was kind of different. Like, every once in a while, at first it was year by year basis. Then it
Yeah.
went to a couple year deal, and I think this last one I was in was maybe three or 4 years.
Okay.
Um, and it was, when you're with someone for 14 years coming, I mean, that's the longest relationship I've ever been in. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they knew, towards the, I mean, I've been friends with Keith Daffrin, and all the guys over there at Vexus from the old FLW days and stuff.
Yep.
And so we've always talked and stuff, and it just felt right this year. I mean, Keith went last year. I actually borrowed Keith's boat a couple times, and really liked it, and Crestliner is a great boat and stuff. And I feel like, I don't know. I just, I feel like Vexus is more like just tournament, kind of tournament driven, like that, like, more hardcore angler, like, and yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, all right. All right. Let me go back to the Crestliner. I'm jumping
Okay.
all
Okay.
around. I'll tell you
Okay. Sorry.
because
Sorry. That was me.
my head
I was all over
my
the
head
place.
is
I was
all
like,
over the place.
I was getting ready to take you outside and show you the boats. Man, check this out.
Oh, I'm gonna love to see that later. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
But all right. So the Crestliner stuff. So you said it was either a 3 or 4 year deal, sometimes a 2 year, 3 or 4 year deal. You kind of built that momentum up, right?
Yeah.
Um, and are you getting a new boat every year with that deal?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're
I was
getting
getting a
that
new boat every year, and
the new
then
model.
yeah, yeah, you get a new one every year, and it was, and the other thing too, like, with that, it changed throughout the year. I mean, we had a lot of different people come in charge throughout that 14 years, and then
Mm-hmm.
some people came back even that I was already, that I worked with earlier, in the beginning. So, yeah, so just a lot of stuff moving, there
Okay.
with, but,
So what was your favorite part about the Crestliner series?
I mean, I mean, gosh, I'll have to say, when we finally started doing the MX, made them wider, a little bit thicker, and like, it just, the MX. I remember when we made it, we drew it on, we made it with like cardboard. We made a cardboard of like where we want the compartments, what we want it to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember doing it with a Sharpie in a parking lot one night with one of the
That's
guys,
awesome.
and so it was cool. It was cool. It was cool to see it come along and come. And I mean, making improvements every year was really cool. And yeah, I mean, It was great. I mean,
It
you know,
it is. It does look like the widest deck of any aluminum boat. I
it
will
is
say
pretty
that
wide. It is
it's massive.
yeah, it is. It definitely it definitely had a pretty big deck on it.
And I think the history of Crestliner too, and I think it's kind of the history of all aluminum rigs right now
Hmm.
is, if you're not one of the top lines, you're probably using like the point 0.1 gauge aluminum, right? It's
Right.
not the thicker stuff. And I think
Hmm.
Crestliner and all the aluminum rigs were doing that early on in their development.
Right.
And now what you're seeing with those bigger, Express, Vexus, Crestliner, London, I think was always doing it with the deep V, but
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
some of the ones where you jump into like those 150, 200 horse and plus, you're
Right.
seeing that 125 thick gauge aluminum, and that's
You're
where
right.
I've always wanted them to go, because you
Right.
feel with the point 0.1 thick aluminum, it's a hard ride,
Yeah.
and I have yet to ride in one that has the 125, and I want to know
Right.
what that difference is, and I feel like
Right.
it's night and day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it definitely does. Like I had the Bass Hawk there for a while. It was made at the Lund plant and stuff, and it rode it was a completely different ride with that thicker
Yeah,
aluminum. Yeah.
I bet. And if you're fishing bigger waters, you need that
Hmm.
125. I mean, I've
Hmm.
dented a bunch of hulls, with
Hmm.
just that point 0.1. It's not enough.
Hmm. Hmm.
But they're finally, a lot of these manufacturers are finally figuring it out, even though it's more
Hmm.
expensive, which may be
Yeah.
why you're seeing the aluminum rigs now, along with inflation, but
Yeah.
you're seeing them jump up in price a little bit.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know,
And they're getting bigger and bigger. Like they're, every year it's like, you know, they're getting so much wider and stuff. So
well, yeah, and the market shifted so much that 10 years ago they were only making them for 115s.
right.
Now they had to develop them for the 200s and 250s because
Right.
people couldn't afford the fiberglass anymore.
Right. Right.
So they saw the market there, and they were smart about it, and
Hmm.
that's the kind of stuff I love to see, and I've been following it for that reason. I've always wanted to see these big manufacturers go to 125 because that's when I knew I'd be able to get my retirement boat, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are going to be more expensive. Material is
Right.
so expensive.
Hmm.
Um, but that's what I'm shopping around for now, and those top three brands are Crestliner, Express, and Vexus.
Hmm.
Plain and simple.
Right.
Those are the brands that I see in the top of the professional world,
Right.
for the at least the next handful of years until some of these other brands potentially get better. I don't know how they're going to, but
Right.
Ranger's probably another one, but they're mid-level, I would say.
Right.
um but aside from that, all right, let's
Hmm.
get into, so Vexus, you make a decision to part ways with Crestliner.
Hmm.
Why? You built
uh,
this relationship, it was probably a very
yeah.
functional relationship, and you've made a
Right.
lot of friends over there.
Yeah.
And I bet you parted ways very, amicably, right?
Oh yeah, I mean
um
we did like a going away trip. We went down to Disney, did some fishing. We were
Awesome.
supposed to go alligator hunting, but the river was shut down. We weren't able to. But it was we talked about it, and it was time. I went and when Keith went and got his boat, I went to the Fexus plant. Kind of hung out with them some. Saw some things I really liked. How they were building the boats and how they doing a lot of like the fiberglass compartments to keep your stuff dry. I mean,
Hmm.
I need to really we were gonna actually, me and Rob were gonna do a walkthrough video today just to kind of show some of the stuff you wouldn't see until you actually open up the compartments, stuff I didn't even know about until we fished that redfish tournament last week, and we
Hmm.
were like, I mean, we were in like 6 foot waves. There, it was nasty out, and I was like, open a compartment, all our stuff's dry,
Hmm.
and there's like little
Hmm.
drains in each compartment. I mean, there's some really cool stuff on it. But when I'm getting all over the place, but when I went to the plant with Keith, I saw this center console that they were building, and it was wide. It was very similar in width to the MX-21. A
Hmm.
little bit more V on the front, a little bit more coming to a point. And I was like, man, I was like, if you can make this into a bass boat, I'll consider coming over. And 9 months later, Keith calls me. He's like, "Hey, you got a boat? You want to go run it?" And I was like, "All right, whatever." And then it was the boat, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Man, now we got an AVX 2100, and man, it was hard to say no. I couldn't. And Keith
Yeah,
was over there, and we're all buddies, So it was time. Yeah.
that's pretty fun. So, all right,
Yeah.
so hold on,
Yeah. Okay.
So you have an ACX and an AVX?
Yeah, so we got the ACX for the Redfish tournaments. Me and Keith were
Yes.
both using that, kind of sharing it and stuff. Oh,
Okay.
speaking of, here's Keith right here.
What's going on?
Keith, what's up, man?
How are you?
I'm Chris. Good to see you.
Chris, how are you? Good to see
I'm
you,
good,
man.
man. I'm good. I'm down here in the dungeon. It's dark as hell down here.
but
It's just I
but
was moving my entire studio just for this because it was all like in shambles upstairs. I'm like, oh crap, I gotta do it tonight. All right, I don't know where I'm gonna go. So I got all these like there's a huge hockey net behind this thing because this is where my kid does his shooting. I'm
I
like,
didn't
I'll just
even
make it
notice.
into a studio, whatever.
Oh, that's perfect.
Um,
Perfect. But
but
yeah,
yeah, we were just talking about that ACX
yeah.
that you guys got for the Redfish Tour. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got that one. We've been running that for a few months now. I'm gonna probably use it in some of the MPFLs, and definitely I think we're doing like 5 redfish ones and a championship, and then they're building our AVX 2100s that we're gonna pick up I think after Christmas. So
Okay.
that's the one, that was the boat we were really excited about. That when we were in there, we were talking about, and it's super wide, rides good. I was really impressed with when I was running it, testing it, how slow you could go, uh, and it wouldn't, with no porpoising or anything. You're able to, I mean, I'm talking, you could be on plane at 20 miles per hour, and it would just ride perfect as can be. And you could trim up. So it's gonna be a really neat boat.
Yeah, and when I was looking at your pro staff profiles on Vexus,
Mhm.
it said that Keeks was running the 2080, right? That was
Yeah.
last year,
Yeah.
and you're both getting the 2100 this year. Because I was looking, I was going, so 2080 and 2100, those sound very similar,
Hmm.
in length. I'm wondering what the differences were, and they were substantial.
Yeah.
So for those people that are listening, we'll run through the 2100, right? So you've got it's just less than 21 feet, fits a 250. The beam's 96, which is massive.
Hmm.
The fuel capacity is 44 gallons. That's one of the big differences between the 2080 and the 2100.
Hmm.
And then the rod box lengths. You got a 9-foot center on this thing. And on the 2080, I think it's an 8.5 center.
Hmm.
So there are considerable differences. I think the horsepower rating on the 2080 is also 200. So you jump up into that
Yeah.
250 range for the
Yeah.
2100. So massive details, differences, but two pretty sick looking boats, I will say.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
guys rigging on the front?
I just have, well, you got it too. I think we both have the Quest on the front.
Minn Kota.
Yeah.
Really?
And then
The Quest.
yeah. Yeah.
What
I
do they
was
rate that on the thrust level? Or do they?
A lot.
Yeah, I mean it does
Yeah.
it does really well.
Yeah.
We really considered trying the power pole one this year.
The move.
And
Yeah.
then we were kind of, Keith ran the Quest last year. I was still running the Ultrex and the Fortrex. And man, when I borrowed his boat, like I couldn't kill the batteries. Like, I mean, I went, all day, and it was just so much more efficient, being brushless and stuff. So
Yeah.
and then we put it on the saltwater boat. We didn't even have when we were there at Vexus. They were like, "Oh, we don't have any, saltwater trollers." So we just threw a freshwater Quest on there, and man, it's nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I don't know how long it's gonna last in the saltwater, but boy, it's nice right now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to run freshwater through that after every trip.
Oh yeah, we were hosing it down. I was so worried. I'm like, "Oh, please work tomorrow."
Do they have special props for those too? Could you put it like a saltwater prop on there? It doesn't rust as much.
I don't know about that. They got two. There's a grass prop and a speed prop that they have,
They
and
got
I
speed
think
prop.
the grass prop is actually quieter than the speed prop.
Okay.
But
What do we have on the center console?
I think you have the speed prop.
Okay. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
It's not, it gets that. I mean, that boat's 22 feet long, and it does. You don't
Yeah.
even feel it. When I had it at Murray the other day, I was going in and out of the docks and stuff, and like you forget all that boat's behind you.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Do you have is it a typical like a bow mounted like you'd see in tournaments trolling motor, or is it one of those really long like white ones for saltwater that automatically extends?
Oh no, yeah,
Like
no.
what's
Well,
on it?
that's what we were gonna get. Well, we were
Okay,
thinking we'd get this, but we didn't have
Yeah.
they didn't have one when we had it rigged, so we just threw
gotcha.
our exact same one from the bass boat on there.
Yeah.
Nice. How long does it
Yeah.
take to throw one of those on there?
Uh, we actually didn't do that one. They actually did it for us at the plant. They were quick. Them guys are good. Like
Yeah.
we were there. We were watching them finish that boat, and it was crazy. It was like I went out there and I was like, "There's no way it's gonna get done. I'm gonna have to go home. I'll have to fly home, leave my truck." And
Yep.
man, I think it was like 2-3 hours later. They're like, "It's all done. You're good to go." I was like, "Wow, that was
Well, yeah,
yeah,
it makes sense for them to prioritize you guys, definitely. That priority.
yeah,
You know.
yeah."
Oh, I just had a thought and I lost it.
Yeah.
So, all right, John, you might be one of the busiest tournament guys that I know and follow.
Mm,
All right,
right.
like you do all of these tours, and
Mhm.
I kind of asked around with the people that follow my brand. What kind of things would you want me to talk about? What do you want to know?
Mhm.
Specifically my Alabama director, Chris. He's
Mhm.
a huge fan. Fangirls over you like there's no
Oh,
tomorrow.
thanks,
All right.
Chris.
He wants to know. Now you fished the elites, you fished, Major League Fishing, you fished MPFL.
Hmm.
With all the changes going on for this year, you know, what's going to be your priority? Which one are you going to enjoy the most and why?
Man, it's kind of hard to tell. Everybody is finally dialing it in a little better, I think. To where the elites have a great schedule. MPFL's got a great schedule. Bass Pro Tour's got a great schedule. The Invitational's a great schedule.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't. For me, it's hard to sit home when one of them's going on and being like, "Oh my gosh, I could be up there right now." So, but I guess this year I'm doing the elites, the MPFLs. I think I'm going to get into one invitational, and
Okay.
and then the redfish stuff. So I'm going to be just super busy. And honestly, the redfish stuff's kind of cool. It's different, and I saw Keith maybe twice last year or this year. So now doing that, it's a team thing. So it's kind of cool. Like
Yeah.
we didn't do any good in the first
Yeah.
one. We only caught one
We got
one
one. Yeah, I got
redfish.
that.
But
Nice one though.
but
Nice
it
one.
was it was cool. We had Rob with us and stuff doing videos.
Yeah.
So it's a good change of thing and a change of pace. And I guess too though, MPFL did away with forward facing
Yep.
completely.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
gonna be kind of. We're gonna and we got a good group of guys coming over. And that's it's gonna kind of I think it's gonna kind of bring us back a couple years, which will be cool because that's kind of miss some of those days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that then, because there's changes in every
Okay.
friggin' organization, and
Yeah. I'll
my head
just yeah.
spins every week. There's a new friggin' rule. So
Yeah.
the elites, they tended to the drama with. Did they reduce the number of transducers, or was it just the screen size?
One transducer.
I think they went to one transducer,
Just one, right?
and they went to like 50
55
something
inches
inches
or
of
something?
screen. Whatever.
Right.
I think it's still 4 up or 3 up front, 1 in the back, or something like that.
Okay.
Where you can have like 412s or something.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's it. Just
Yeah.
412.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still refusing.
Jesus.
I'm not putting it on. I'm just not gonna put it on, and I don't know. It worked so good. I'm not gonna lie. I took Keith's boat and practiced one tournament,
Mhm.
and I was just like, his is so dialed in
Mm-hmm.
that it's like, oh my gosh, like it works, and
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's
I haven't
it's
done it
almost
yet.
starting all over
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
All right, so you got the elites doing that. You have MLF, one period you can't use it, right? 2 periods you can, or is it the other way around?
Bass Pro Tour, yeah, Bass Pro Tour, it's 1 period that you can use it and 2 periods you
There you go.
cannot. And then
Yep.
you have to announce before the period starts, you have to announce the period that you want to use it. Like you can't in the middle of the period, you can't just be like, "Oh, I want to turn it on." You're not allowed to do that. So you have to pick the period you want And so that kind of helps, adds to the strategy. Like, are you picking the
Yeah.
right period at the right time?
Yeah.
And
And then you can't have like someone that scoping like Drew Gill jacking them and be like, I want to use it this period.
right, yeah,
Something,
right.
which
Oh,
that's
man.
cool.
And
And
then
then
obviously, and
invitationals, then first day you can, second day you can't, third day you can.
all right. So it's
Scope, yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Do what?
They so it's different than the
Yeah,
Bass Pro
yeah,
Tour.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so confusing.
I know.
Well, so Bass Pro Tour, we there's marshals in the boat, so he's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
help
it's
you abide by the rules and go by the period. And
yep,
since on the invitationals there's no marshals in the boat, it's you by yourself. They made us go up to 2 cameras. So this year we had to run 1 GoPro. Now we have to run 2 for
yep.
more visibility. And then there's no marshals, so they're just going by the day. So one day you can use sonar, day 2 you cannot. And then,
Okay,
obviously with the 2 cameras, if somebody were to challenge something, they could review that and see. But
true. So
yeah,
so actually, this question, now that you brought up the camera situation, I've always been curious about this because I just started dabbling in content and fishing
Mhm.
content and on the water stuff because I hate the camera stuff. When I'm out there, I just want to fish. But
Oh,
right,
my
yeah,
my
it's a
son,
pain in the
yeah,
butt.
it's horrible. But my
Oh,
son
yeah,
wants to
terrible.
get into it, and he
Yeah.
loves he loves the YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
So he's like, Daddy, I want to do a YouTube series. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
But what happens if you don't have that footage? What happens if you have a GoPro that shuts off, or your battery dies, or you don't have other power, other avenues of power to keep it up all
Yeah.
day? What happens? That's
yeah.
8 hours. You have to keep a GoPro going or a
Yeah.
camera going.
I know. Like mine, I struggle like to keep mine going all the time. Like I'll get it going and I'll mess with it. And I mean, at a point in time, I mean, if you're in, 30 minutes in it trying to get it to work and it's just shot, I mean, there's really nothing you can do.
Yeah, it's happened to me too. Middle of the tournament,
Mhm.
everything's working. I look up, the red light's not flashing.
Yeah.
I try to get it
Yeah.
going. And I mean, I think basically it's more like if everything goes fine and your day goes well, you weigh in and it's all good. The issue is like if someone were to challenge you and say
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I saw him," say it's a no sonar day, and you think, "Hey, I saw him staring at his graph nonstop. He has to be using it."
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then the tournament director says, "Hey, let me have your footage," and you're like, "I don't have it." Well, then that's when you kind of have a problem,
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I think Bass does something where they fine you. I think it's a certain amount of times, like like first time it's like some kind of offense, something. I'm not 100% sure on it, but there's something
Okay.
Yeah.
something they do. But I've gone like this year, so I've probably gone through 6 GoPros this year.
Jeez.
Which is and we're having to buy them. So like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like mine's messing up. I overnight one from Tackle Warehouse. I'm like, get it going. It's good for a little while. Then we have a monsoon during the tournament, or I hit a tree with it and rip it off. Whatever it is, you know. But I try my best because it is super cool when you do get some of that foot, like when just
I know.
something
Yeah, I do.
crazy happens, and like you're like, oh my god, I got that on the camera. It's cool when you get
Hmm.
that, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, but it
You
is a
know,
pain.
so let me ask this: in the BPT and the Taco Invitationals, if you're supposed to say before the period starts that you're not going to, or is it the day before or like just in the morning before the launch?
For a Bass Pro Tour, it's so there's 15-minute breaks in between each period,
Yeah.
and you would announce to your marshal what period. So, like, say you want to use a period 1, you'd have to tell the marshal before he says lines in.
Oh, no, yeah.
So, like, say it's lines in at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
You're going to tell him before 8 a.m. I want to use
Okay.
forward sonar this period, and then that's your period that you use it, and you can't split it up half this period, half that period. It's you pick the period and you use it, and that's
Okay.
your one shot
Oh, I'm
to
getting
use it.
days and periods confused right now. Hold on a
Yeah.
second.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Yeah, invitationals is days and Bass Pro Tour is
Yeah.
periods.
there you go. Okay.
But
Yeah.
So
Bass
let me
Pro
ask.
Tour. Oh, God.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, so Bass Pro Tour now though, everybody fishes. They're not
Yes,
A and
yeah,
B anymore.
right. No more Group A, Group B.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because I
now
cut it
it's
down to 50, right, or something.
66, yeah, but all
Yeah.
66 fish. So like that was always confusing, I think, for people when I would talk to
Hmm.
different people at boat ramps. They're like, what is this Group A, Group B? No, none of that anymore. It's day 1, day 2, whole field competes. Then you got to cut, and all the way up to the championship.
Yeah.
So it's a little more simple that way.
Well, let me ask this then: why wouldn't they just make you take the transducer off a front-facing sonar if you're not going to use it for that period? I mean, everybody I know has a way to take it off and on really easily. Like, why wouldn't you just
Yeah.
take it away and just cancel, like, get rid of that?
Yeah, they probably could. I'm thinking on day 2 of the invitationals, I think they're going to cap it.
Hmm.
You know, you like pull your plug, they put this cap on it with the zip, kind of like when we had that no sonar tournament back at
Yeah.
Lanier.
Yeah.
I think they were going to do something like that.
And I
Okay.
think they may do something similar on Bass Pro Tour,
Hmm.
because we had talked about it. Like if you're not using it, it's somehow going to be known to other anglers. Like if I see a guy fishing and he has like this orange thing on his graph or whatever,
Yeah.
I can tell and I'll know that okay, he's not using it this period.
Yep.
So like it
Yep.
helps us with strategy as we're fishing. You know, if a guy's
Agree.
lighting up the score tracker and I see him and I'm like, oh, he's using sonar or he's not, you know, it
Yeah.
kind of helps me have an
Yeah,
idea.
or they see a guy out in the middle and he's not supposed to be using it. They're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What's that
Are
guy
you?
doing out there?
But you are able to use it for practice,
I think, yeah, I'm
right?
pretty sure.
There's no
I still have to
restrictions yet
go
on
over the rules
practicing.
on that actually, but I'm almost sure you can use it all practice, like
I think that
nonstop.
was what they decided on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, so speaking of rules, we've got, I don't know how new it is, but the ABP on the elite side, right, the bass side, that advisory board has just been put together, and their first order of business was obviously to change the payouts. So that I don't know if that's breaking news. I saw it on my Instagram a couple of days ago, but they've added a $10,000 per angler fee into the payouts. So it's another $1 million or so to pay out for the year. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think the payout's not it could always be better, but I think they got it a lot closer to what it was. I think now we walk away 50th place. I think it's $5,500.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like $1,100 in from our payment thing, plus our expenses. So we're still walking out of there, $3,000 on a 50th place. So it is very close to the same thing as 10 grand. It just doesn't look like.
It doesn't look like 10 grand.
Yeah, it doesn't look like
Right.
winning 10 grand.
Right.
But
You're not fishing for $500.
yeah,
Yeah.
not fishing for 500. Yeah, so we're.
Right,
I'm happy. I think
I
think
fish
they
for
did
$500
good.
up here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When John he's texted me that original payout and I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
I was like, this ain't real. And and it's like, yeah, $500.
Yeah, and I think that's where Bass kind of went wrong, in my opinion. They think they were trying to change the game, but they changed it too quick, too fast, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they almost should have just cut them in half and see how that went, and that went over first before cutting the whole thing. You know what I mean? And I think if they cut it in half, they're still helping anglers, but now they're still keeping payouts. And they didn't have to go into this whole situation where we needed an advisory board and all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they were what Bass I think was thinking was that when we've had meetings and stuff, like they see that some of the guys are starving, like some of the guys just aren't, they don't have the sponsor money coming in, they don't, they're just not they're starving. So I think that might have been where their thought was let's let them guys keep whatever money, that's but this what they got now is going to work out a lot better. I think it's going to do really well, and I think I haven't heard anything but good stuff. So
Yeah,
like it.
I
agree. I agree. I mean, it was only going to help if with additional payouts, right? So that's what everybody was hoping for, and I think the ABP did a good thing here. I don't know why it had to come to getting an ABP together to make that decision.
Yeah.
But it, in my eyes, it looks like it's a sound crew on that board. How were they? Do you guys know how they were actually assigned to that board? Was there a vote?
I think it was a voting process. I don't know. We were really when all that was going on, we were like wrapped up. We had the redfish thing going and something else, but I think it was like a voting process where if you wanted to be one of the people, people could vote on you, and then all the group. I mean, it was crazy how everybody kind of came together for that. Because usually we don't get along. It's half and half on everything, and everybody came together and got that group together and stuff and got it done. It was I was really impressed.
Do you think that group is big enough? Do you think it represents the sample size of the anglers in the elites?
I mean, I mean, more could be better, but I think the guys we have are good. I think they're good dudes that are, that everybody picked. And, I mean, they got this job. I mean, I was impressed. They went there. That's what everybody kind of wanted to shoot for, and they made it happen. So, I mean, it's, I think it worked out really good.
I guess my confusion is why it needed to be an advisory board to bring that up when all the
Right.
anglers were asking for it anyways.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it almost like it needed to be formalized somehow to get everyone's point across instead of just getting 100 anglers to vote.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very odd to me that
Yeah.
this
Oh, and
needed
it
to
might
happen.
have been too. I mean, Bass might have been like, hey, let's send them the $500 for 20th place and bring because it brought everybody together. They might be smarter than we think, because it did. It brought everybody together, and everybody got talking and did this. So I mean, that they might have been, that might have been the end game to begin with.
No, I mean, I think they are very, very smart, and it does show they've been around for a very long time. And that in itself shows that they have some brains behind the operations. But there's been a lot of cloud online about the people that run it aren't anglers, so they don't know anything. Let's do that. It's all that drama that people want to throw online without doing any fact checking or doing anything behind the scenes, right? It's all what I want. They want to push their own agendas, right? And for them to want to help anglers the way that they did by getting rid of that entry fee totally shows them. It actually showed me that they have one mindset, and it is about the anglers and creating a better professional world for them. But I think they went too hard too fast. You know what I mean? Too hard too fast. Because they were getting, with all the drama that was going on, they were still getting the numbers. They were still getting those entry fees. People were still coming up with the money. They still had those good payouts. They could still pay out, the big classic winner, right? They could still have that event. And then they just said, let's see if we can decrease our contribution and see if we can give back to the anglers, and kind of jump back in their face.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's bark is like, oh, it's too much entry fees. And all of a sudden there's none. They're like, there's no entry fees now. There's no payouts. It's like, come on, let's find a common ground here.
Right.
And I'm just one of the guys who sits back and watches all this stuff. I'm not even, I'm not even invested in it. But I'm like, what is this going on, right?
Right.
But anyways, all right. Let me ask you this. So Chris wanted me to ask this question. Your fangirl from Alabama. So he said he wanted to know which one you enjoy the most. So I'm going to change it, because I know I asked that. I want to say what would be your priority? So let's say you had 3 tournaments, one in each professional league on a weekend. Which one are you going to? And it can't be dependent on where you are in the standings.
Yeah.
That's a cop out. That's a cop out. I'm not letting you do that.
That is, a lot of times, like when I was doing a lot and I was having to skip certain tournaments and show up and fish for a day and take off. It was really depending on the schedule and where I needed points and where I didn't. But man, I have to say, so like I really enjoy the 5 fish at Bass. Going out there chasing 5 big ones and catching them, and that's what I've done probably done better at than the numbers. But man, when I was fishing Bass Pro Tour, man, to mix that in every once in a while, I'd go like 3 straight 5 fish, then jump in Bass Pro Tour, no practice, and and catch as many. I mean, it was cool. I mean, I don't know, one moment that really stuck out to me was they were counting me down at the end of one of the periods. And I had like a 6-pound smallmouth on. I got him on like 8-pound spinning rod, and then he's counting me down. This is my first time, and I'm like full panicking, and that fish jumps, and I try to boat flip, like pull him over the back, and that line just breaks. He hits the boat, falls in. I mean, man, I'm telling, I haven't lost it many times, but I was having chest pains. I was laying down. It was intense. But I really do like the 5 fish. That's probably, like, if I had to pick one, I'd probably want to go after chase 5.
All right. So you bring up another question on my end then, because the BPT has switched. they've gone both ways.
Yeah.
Early on it was let's go quantity, and then all of a sudden it was a 5 fish limit for a year or two. What are they doing now?
Yeah, what are they doing now?
I'm not sure.
No,
No, it's back to every
Okay.
fish counts. Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
largemouth bass
And it-
lives
yeah.
matter. Yeah.
And I have to say, the every fish counts. Where it really, it's whatever that bottom line is. Like if they're like, okay, it's got to be a 2-pounder or a 2.5. When it's crazy when you think, oh, a 2-pound minimum. You're like, oh, that's two. I mean, you catch a lot of 114s, a lot of 115s, and you're like, what is
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah.
But yeah.
How did they? So so little background on me. I am a manufacturing engineer, like quality engineer, and I've been trying to get into the fishing space forever. But up in Boston, there's not a lot of opportunities. But the scales that they use, I mean, they have to be meticulously maintained for calibration, right? And like, how do they make sure that every scale is the same?
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Yeah, it's a good.
I mean,
question.
yeah. I mean,
they have to make sure that that these things aren't an ounce or two off, right? Because those 114s and 115s could be
are
twos,
huge. Yeah, and I think that's part of I think the marshals, because they keep the stuff. I think that's I think that's like part of their job is to charge it at the end of the day, check it. I mean, I know every time I had a guy, he always checked it every morning with like, I think he had like a 2.5 pound like little weight thing he hung on it or something.
Okay. So you had like
just
almost like a gold standard. Yeah, gold standard. Everybody probably has.
Yeah, I think they do something to check it in the mornings, because I do remember one time the guy had one and it was all jacked up and he was weighing it, and it was weighing like a 2-pound, 2.5 pound weight, like super light, and he had his backup scale. They all have backup scales.
Yep.
And yeah.
Nice.
But if it weighed a little heavy, I was like, "Hey, you better keep that. If we want to keep that 2.5 pound weight. We want to keep that one."
Yeah. I want that scale. Thank you.
Yeah, I want that one right there.
How are the marshals? How are the marshals been? Have you ever had like a disaster on the boat? Can you tell me stories about that? Have they all pretty cool? They vetted.
Yeah, I mean, I've had really good ones. I've had one guy where I grabbed a 7-pounder as he was counting me down. I grab it, bring it in the boat, bring it over after he counts me down, and he's like, "I don't think we can count that." And I'm like, "We can't count it," And like he started tearing. I mean, it was emotional, and I had to let it go. It was terrible, and then went into the break. So we sat there for 15 minutes. Felt like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
And it's crazy. I jump up front when he says lines in. I fire to the same dock with my general, and I catch one that's like 6 something. So we're like, okay.
Yeah.
But it would have been. I mean, to catch that 7 and then that 6 would have been. It caught. I didn't get a check that time. That was terrible.
Are a lot of them like chatty, or do they just kind of leave you alone to do your thing? Because if I was a marshal, I'd be chatting you up all day. Yeah, I'd be the worst marshal ever. I'd be getting you off your game.
Yeah. For me, I got guys where they sleep and stuff. Yeah. And I have to wake them up. I'll catch a fish. I'm like, "Hey, I caught one," and they're like, "Oh,
Boy, smack them in the face. Hey, buddy, let's go. Make your day paycheck. Let's go."
Yeah. And then I'll have guys that talk all day. Yeah. And they'll catch themselves. They're like, "Oh, you got to fish. You got to fish." And you stop talking, and 2 seconds later, you're like, "Hey, you ever done this? Ever done that?"
That's the hard thing, though, when you get in the boat with somebody and you're like, and you guys are like talking about something. It's like, oh my god, let me get to work,
Right.
But a lot of them are good guys. A lot of them are big fans of fishing. They love fishing, and
all of them.
Yeah, they all do. And like I was still in contact with some of the ones I had when I was doing it. So they're good guys.
Yeah. Probably not the guy that didn't let you keep that 7-pounder. Then his phone number got deleted right away.
He mentioned, he was like, we should call Boyd, and I was like, nah, man. I was like, I didn't get it in time. It's okay, it was bad. It was because we had swabbed it and everything, it was like 7-1, whatever, and I was like, oh, but it was fun.
Swabbed it.
Yeah, so if you had a 7-pound or bigger, they
share look
swab
or whatever it is
for DNA or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Something.
All right. All right, well, let's get back onto boats here for a minute. Let's go back on boats. Let's go back on the boats. So, all right, you got a center console. You're going out for the Redfish Tour. What made you want to go out for Redfish? Because that sounds awesome. I mean, you guys are from Florida, anyways. So Redfish are around there all the time. That's a blast. Yeah, and you get to do it with your buddy, your best bud.
That's the main thing. Yeah, if
That's
we
a
get
blast.
Rob to go every time, it's just it's cool. It's fun.
So, why don't they do more team events in professional fishing?
Well,
they seem like they're a blast.
Yeah,
so someone just did that.
Yeah, Keith just went to where'd you go? You went somewhere with Nelson.
Oh, that's a cup event for Bass Pro Tour. Yeah. They do it. They have team events for Bass Pro Tour. Yeah.
Yes.
The cups.
And that's new. That's new last year, right?
Yeah.
And the coverage was phenomenal. Yeah, the coverage was phenomenal. Like seeing buddies just chirping each other on the boat. It's a riot.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like that should be done more, you know?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun fishing with another guy. You know, it takes some pressure off you, and then I think it's better for the camera. You know, I think I've heard a lot of good stuff from the cup events. They had a lot of viewers and stuff, and it's just more enjoyable. You know, get two guys up there and stuff. So
Well, seeing the interaction with team partners. I mean, that to me, there's a lot more team trails now, like small club tournaments in states. It's a lot of team events. So. You know, there's a market for seeing how people communicate and strategize from a team environment when you're on when you're in a tournament. So I'm not surprised that it did well. You know, it's fun. You know, especially when you get to chirp your buddy on live TV.
Oh yeah,
you know, listen. Here's what I need you guys to do too. When you're talking to Keith, do you fish MPFL too?
I fished the first 3 years, and then I'm not currently fishing it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now I'm fishing Bass Pro Tour and the MLF Invitationals.
Very nice. Very nice. A guy I fish with up here just got an invitation for the invitationals. If that,
nice.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Invitation.
He's he accepted his. So he's
good.
John Levesque. I don't know if you guys know the name, but he's a hammer up here, and he's done really, really well. So he's awesome dude, hockey player.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he's a good dude. So if you see him, tell him I said hello.
Okay.
This portion of the podcast is sponsored by Ben's Tackle Shack, the largest family-owned tournament tackle supplier in the Northeast. If you want to be the best, you need the best. So use Ben's Tackle Shack as your trusted source for the highest quality fishing gear. With brands that include Shimano, Daiwa, Yamamoto, Lowe's, Kitech, Strike King, Berkeley, and Zoom, you'll find everything you need at Ben's. So gear up and go fishing. Visit benstackleshack.com for more information.
But I'm sure this is not your first redfish you've caught, but was it your first actual tournament in BPT? Or
it was
Redfish Tour. What's it called?
So this was the National Redfish Tour. We're trying to make the championship. So there's like all these like sanctioned events. If you finish in the top 40 of the field, you get to go to the championship, which is in like Delacroix, Louisiana, whatever. It's like for like 100-something thousand. So that's the goal. We're like, and we've only watched it like on the internet and stuff. So I've caught like maybe 5 in my life, and then how many?
Maybe 2.
Yeah, Keith's maybe gone.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so we don't have a clue. Like we don't know like what they do. Like we just know like you go, you look for them, you cast to them. At least that's what we've seen on the internet.
Yeah.
And when we caught one the other day, I mean, it was like you would have thought we caught like a 15-pounder. Yeah. We were, Rob was we were all freaking out. We're like, oh my god, we actually got one on, and it was a lot of fun.
That was a nice one too. Was it just under the or just inside the slot?
Yeah. Right. We had, and it was crazy. Where we were fishing was we didn't even realize, but it was like this hole, and like we caught that one, and as we were in there, we started seeing land around this hole, and I was like, oh my gosh, we need like. We got to fish like 10 more minutes and had to get out of there.
Yeah, tide was dropping.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables to that. It seems that we don't know anything about yet.
And it's an open event. The Redfish Tour is an open event, or at least that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the entry fee for something like that?
I think it might have been the one we just went to. I think was 5 or something, 500 or something. Yeah, and this next one's a different one. This next one, so it's funny. Let me just tell you. So we show up at this one. We have an idea of the rules, but we don't know. Like, and I'm thinking, like, man, we're gonna have like the fastest boat and like all this stuff. Because the boat we have is incredible. I mean, we get there and like, dude, these like 20-foot towers, tunnel holes, 300s. You know, everybody's fishing from the towers. We're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
but this next one we go to, you can only be 22 inches off the deck of the boat. So this will be
Okay.
more kind of, you know, it won't be like the towers and stuff. And at least I think. Yeah,
Wait.
I don't know.
What do you mean 22 inches off? Like the height?
Yeah, you
Wait,
can
no.
only be 20,
Like a
22.
ladder.
Yeah, like you can only be 22 inches
For
off the
scouting?
deck. Yeah,
For
for
scouting, yeah.
fishing. So like these guys were fishing from like 20 feet up in the air.
Oh,
Yeah, way
Jesus.
up.
All right.
Yeah, so it was pretty much like showing up to a bass tournament without forward facing sonar.
Right, yeah.
It was very it was like you know, but it was fun.
Let's talk about NPFL getting an aluminum side, adding an aluminum series to it. Right? They have the tour right now. That's just 5 events. Go to an aluminum side with a smaller entry fee. Get some of those younger kids to get into it with just aluminum rigs on that side for like 50 boats, you know, and get, you know, top 2 or 3 to get into the championship, right? So let's get, there's not a lot of those stepping stone trails for the young anglers to get into the sport and professional fishing and do it well, you know? I feel like that could be an avenue to do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great. I mean, you know, be able to have something like that, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
your guy.
I mean,
All right.
yeah.
I'm your guy.
Yeah.
Talk to the president, as long as he's not, you know, fighting me in a bar.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, tell
Yeah.
him I want to help. You know what I mean? I'd love to help.
Yeah, they're great guys over there at NPFL. I mean, Keith knew them before I did, and I came over, and they were, you know, they welcomed me with open arms. And you know, I still like I probably out of all the trails, I talk to those guys probably every other week, probably. You know, even if it's just, you know, we're just talking about fishing or whatever it is, or
Yeah.
you know, getting
I mean,
bailed out of jail, whatever it might be.
I mean, they did simplify the game, right?
Yeah.
And they came in at the perfect time. I mean, there was
Yeah.
so much turmoil, and they came back and said, you know what, let's just have a regular, simple trail.
Yeah.
And it's worked for them. And
Right.
you know,
And
I like what they're doing.
Right. One part I really like too, I really like the weigh-in. How, you know, a lot of times we don't have a trailered weigh-in where you drive the and like, so that the best way to show off, you know, your sponsors, whatever. I mean, you get to drive the boat through every day. They pull you through. You know, you pull your fish out. It's exciting. I really like how they do it all.
Yeah. That's really set up good too, because like you come back, put your boat on the trailer, weigh in, and then you're already on the trailer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you know, and you come when you come in
Yeah.
with your flight, like it's no issue.
It does go smoother
It's so
than
smooth.
than you would think it would.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, they solved a big issue that the other professional trails were having, that was sponsor coverage, right? So you've got all these guys that are sponsored, and you got the trail that's sponsored, and usually the trail sponsors were getting more of the publicity than the sponsors on the angler side. And you know, NPFL said, you know what, let's get it all on camera. You know, so they solved the problem, which is great. I love solving problems. But
Yeah.
so all right, let's see. Top 3 modifications to any boats that you guys build. John, you go first. What are you not living without?
Oh gosh, let me think.
Like modifications that like we've added, or just anything like chuck controller
Anything.
motors, power pole. Okay.
So I mean,
Anything.
I like putting the old school bubbler in my live well.
Yeah.
I don't think I can live without that, especially when you're fishing super shallow, and you're, you know, sucking in stuff into your pump and stuff. It's always so. I don't know how many times that bubbler, we just clip it on the battery, and you know, once you got your fish in there, and then they're going to be alive all day, you know, whether you get fresh water in or not. And
Yep.
I got that was probably I can't live without that. And
do you have a bracket that you mounted in?
I take one screw and I send it right through this one little
There you go.
rubber, and it just flops around in there, and I get 2 gator clamps straight onto the battery. When I don't even have it on a switch, so it's you know, because a lot of times you get someone else in the boat, they bump the switch. You know, you got your whatever it might be.
Just on.
Yeah, it's just on. You know, your fish are fine.
Yeah.
And we're still trying to figure out the. So we're used to the recirculate, empty, and auto switch. I didn't have that in the Crestliner. And the other day we had the redfish in there, and we're like, he's in there. And we're like, oh yeah, that's great. And we took off, and then we're like, maybe we should check him. We check him. There's absolutely no water in there. We had to pump, but I think I figured it out now a little bit better. But that's been the biggest surprise so far.
Well, so that always confused me too, because I've
Yeah,
always
right?
used the fill in the empty, never the recirc, right?
Yeah,
And for the people listening, the recirc, and I just learned about this through doing looking at live well or what the hell do they call them? The bins, the big tubs that you put the bass in before you going up to the tank.
Oh yeah,
they call them
the
like the
tanks.
storage, the saving storage tanks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I looked into making some of those for some of my bigger opens that I'm going to run eventually. Mm-hmm. And the idea behind it is water that crashes the surface, like fresh water that from the bottom that crashes the surface, actually oxidizes the top of that tank a lot more. So if you're using the recirc function in your boat, it's literally recycling the water from the bottom into the top and creating oxygen by breaking the surface molecules of the water.
Right.
So that's what it does. It doesn't pull any new water into it. Right. Yeah. So you're not temperature regulating. Right. So, when you're doing that, you probably, if you're running that all day, you're probably going to warm your rival up a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's the stuff I was learning from I was reading some really old school, like procedure stuff on how to do it. It's like,
that's what I figured out the other day was, when I would run, I would swap it to auto or to recirculate. When I'd run, it would hold all the water and everything was good. When I sat down to fish, I would turn it back to auto, and it would pump fresh in while I'm fishing. But you just couldn't take off that auto because then it would run out the live well pump. Yeah, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. So you just got to turn that knob. Remember to turn it. Yeah.
All right. So you're saying bubbler? That's one.
Yeah, bubbler. I'm going bubbler. Trolling motor, and then
hold on. Are you talking about the old school I'm talking $5.99 D cell bubbler?
Yeah, hell yeah, yeah. We've been putting them in the boat since long time. 20 years. From the John Boat Club, we had that bubbler into a cooler, and that's all we had. We'd bucket it in with a big gulp cup that I'd have in the morning, and then hook it on the same trolling motor battery and they keep our limit alive.
Yeah, that's so damn. I can picture the packaging. It's like black with green lettering. Bubble.
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. Bubbles,
I think. I think it's Mr. Bubbles. I don't know. I think that's something. Yeah.
Got to have an extra set of D batteries in there, then, huh?
Oh yeah, now they have them where you clip them on the battery.
True.
That was like the upgraded one. Yeah.
I never got to the upgraded one. All right, so second, what do you
got? Second one, I'd probably have to go with probably. I don't think I could live without having the trolling motor up front. Definitely have to have the trolling motor up there, and I don't know. That's one thing I really enjoy about the aluminum boat, or why I really lean towards the aluminum, is how well you can troll around with it. It's a different. For someone that doesn't have an aluminum, they might not really understand. But if you're in your aluminum and then you get into your buddy's fiberglass boat, the maneuverability with the aluminum, you can whip in between docks easier. Even with that, the big center console, we're able to turn really quick, back it up quick, stop it on a dime. I think because it's just displacing less water. It's sitting higher I can't live without that. I have to be. I love how you can move, with the aluminum boat. And then
how many all trolling motors now don't go over 36, obviously, but in that big center console you're running, how many batteries you got in that thing?
I honestly, we have it super light. We have three in the console there, and we have one in the back. In that boat, so we got it pretty much stuck the other day, and it was like maybe ankle deep. So which is crazy. So you're a 22-foot boat, 250 on it, floating in nothing. Yeah. It's super cool. I want to. Like my bass boat, I'll probably run 336 that make 312s, and then another set of 312s. And then I'll have a big starting, like either a big, in the past I've used that big square Odyssey one that they put in the trucks that they jump and stuff. It's like
Okay.
shatterproof, all this stuff. So like I'll put
Yep.
that big one in there, or I'll parallel two 12s, two lead, just to have a little more power on the starter and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's mostly more of when I'm traveling. Like you'll fish a tournament, and then like wife will drive to a next one. Won't have any time to charge or anything. Just go the next day, and it's nice to have just a little bit more, a little backup.
Yeah. So why 312s instead of like one of the big 36s or two of the big 36s?
So I've used some of the single 36s in the past, and now they might have come a long ways, and I'm sure they have because it hasn't been because I've been using Battleborn probably for the last 5 years, maybe 6 years. And what I really liked with those was if you ever had an issue, a problem, you pull the one battery out, and you could if you ran to Walmart, you could throw a lead in there and still run 36. You were able to very easily fix it, or you could eliminate that one battery if something happened, and then connect, and run it 24. So it was just, for me, it was just more of a security to have more options having individual 12s than having one. But I don't know, nowadays though, they might, the singles are probably, they probably got them dialed in by now, the 136 cells. I would imagine they probably do. So yeah.
True. You make a good point though. If you're running a Ghost, right, and you're 36 bales and you only have a 36 on reserve, you can't run will that run the 24?
I don't know if the Ghost will. I know all the Minn Kotas we've had will run 24. The 36 will. They're just a little bit slower. Like, if you have a 112, like when I had the 112 Fortrex on there, I could connect 24, and you'd have to, like, your normal 60% would be like 90% on the 24,
Okay.
But it would still run it.
Okay.
It changes it to like an 80 pound.
Yeah, like an 80. It just drops your
I
top
gotcha.
end. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So we got a bubbler. We've got kind of a stock answer with a trolling motor. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I was trying to think what I really liked, but
everybody has a trolling motor, John. Geez.
Yeah, I know.
What are the things that like people don't typically think of?
Yeah.
What about that? Is that a little better?
Let me think what else I have in there. I know the battery thing. That's so I have it on different breakers and everything. That's a little, but I mean, and what other people have too. The hydraulic jack plate. Like I mean, that sounds like a normal thing, but I actually had one of the Crestliners I had recently, and I never put the hydraulic plate on there. I was like, no big deal. No. And man, I mean, not having you don't realize how much you use the hydraulic jack plate until you don't have it. And then you're like, even idling, idling in shallow water, getting up on plane. I don't know how many times with that boat I had to get on plane. I had to back it up and actually dig a little spot out, in reverse, and then floor to get up in because it just, didn't have the hydraulic. So that would be a huge thing I feel like you'd have to have, is that hydraulic plate.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're as shallow a fisherman as you are.
Yeah.
Now those come with obviously up and down switches on the dash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys do was it blinker trim?
Yeah, I have mine on the blinker. Yeah. Mine on the blinker. It's just so nice. You just feather, it's I had it on the push button before, where it'd be on the side. But a lot of times when you're using that hydraulic steering, you're really focusing either running through something shallow or where you really need to be focusing on the water. And that's in the blinker, the T&H Marine blinker trim things. Man, they are nice.
And that's one of the upgrades. Yeah, you don't really think about at the time, but it's a great cheap option, and it definitely makes a difference. So
for sure.
It's definitely huge. I'm going to do that on my next boat. I know that. It just seems like it's just so much easier.
And it's pretty easy to install. Like I've been on mine, it's really easy. Pull the steering wheel off, stick the ring on, plug them in. I mean, it's a lot easier than you think to install it. So
yes, agree. All right, and then was that number 3? Or are we giving you a pass on the trolling motor?
I'm trying to think of anything else. I don't something that everybody. I mean, I am such like we fish so simple,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just so I feel like I'm the same kid that was in that rowboat. Even though you think about it, it's like what I don't know, 30 years, 28 years ago or whatever. I don't
Yeah,
know. I just know.
we're getting old.
Yeah, yeah. When we got that new boat the other day, man, I felt like that kid, and I felt like I went from that rowboat right into this, ACS, and I was
Yeah.
like, dude, you see these lights come on?
Yeah.
Like I mean, it was, man, it is done up. It is,
Yeah,
man, it is so, and I've never had the decking. I've always had carpet,
Oh
and man, when
God.
we took it alligator hunting, and we killed this giant alligator, drug him into the boat. It was the third time I took it out. It's just
Yeah.
covered with alligator slime and blood, and I'm thinking like, man, this is never gonna come off. I got the pressure washer out, cleaned it right up. Looks good as new.
Brand new.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I'm surprised you haven't gone with marine grade yet, or like the non-carpet stuff. That's
Yeah, I'm
that's
gonna
the
have a hard
future, I
time going
think.
back to carpet. Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
that
Yeah,
they ruined me with that center console.
yeah, yeah. Carpet is such a pain. I've been non-carpet for 3 years now, and it's
Really?
phenomenal. Yeah, it's awesome.
Really, yeah. The only thing that was a little scary was I was at Murray last week. It was freezing. It was like 20 something at takeoff,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and it was a little slick in the mornings. Like,
Yeah.
but once you got in there and the sun got, it was fine. But that was when I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
Well,
But-
carpet does the same thing.
yeah,
You
that's
get
true. Yeah,
carpet. It's almost like grass. You get that little dew on it, and you're going skating.
yeah,
You're going
yeah.
skating.
Yeah.
You're falling off.
yeah, yeah.
All right, Keith. What about you? What are some of the small? Let's go smaller upgrades that people wouldn't typically think of when rigging up a rig.
Okay, let's see. So one of the things that I like is I like to not run a hot foot in my boat because I just have the throttle on my hand, and the reason is I can run on plane and I can kind of get up on my knees and like see like if I'm looking for holes in grass, if I'm looking for spawners, beds, whatever, I can see that because if you have a hot foot and you're sitting down, the bass boats, you sit so low,
Yeah.
you don't have a vantage point at all. So I really like to not have a hot foot in my boats. That's one of them, and I like to run a 4-blade prop. I like,
Really?
yeah, they rip. They get up
More
on
hole
planes so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great. Like when you're super shallow and stuff, and you got to hop up, and they
But
turn. They just grip the water.
Yeah, I noticed
Yeah.
too. 4-blade. I even went to the old 5-blade one. A lot of people haven't seen that 5-blade, but the blades are such smaller.
Yeah.
Same as the 4-blade. That anytime you hit anything, definitely more durable. The more blades you have, the better they do. Compared to you got a 3-blade, you can fold a ear over on a 3-blade very easily.
Right.
Even just
Yeah.
getting up on planes sometimes. But you put that 5-blade, you can run that 5-blade through some stuff. You're like, oh man, that prop's done. And, and you're like, you get home and it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys carry? You obviously carry multiple props, but do you carry multiple different styles based on the body of water you're going to be fishing? Like if you're going to be fishing super shallow all day, you're going to run that 4, but then switch it off, for the next tournament when you're going to be out in deep water, 10 to 20 feet.
Yeah,
you need
long
that extra
runs.
1 to 2 mile horsepower. Yeah,
yeah, and you're getting better gas mileage, I think, with the 3s.
Yeah,
I think the small, because you're gonna do more RPMs.
Yeah.
I feel like with the like that 5-blade, like it'll break your neck when you get on plane, but man, you're gonna go through some gas.
Yeah.
all right, so we got the hot foot and the
4-blade.
prop. Yep. The
Yeah,
4-blade,
and then
what's number 3?
gosh, I mean, I'm a big fan of power poles.
Yeah.
I got, those are no matter what, like if it's windy, whatever, like if I'm bed fishing and it's windy, I can put the poles down and block the wind and create some glass next to the boat so I can see the fish and see what it's doing. Those things are awesome. They help a lot. So that's kind of like a must have.
That's a little trade secret right there. A lot of people
Gosh,
wouldn't
Keith,
wouldn't
don't tell
think
them
that.
everything.
Wouldn't think that. I don't
Jeez.
listen. It's not for me. I don't run power poles. I haven't put them on yet. But all right, since you brought up power poles, I'm gonna bring this up. What do you guys think of the brakes?
Never used.
Oh, the crappie brakes.
Yes.
Yeah. I've never used those.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the power pole paddles. The drill.
Oh, yeah. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the crappy brakes. I'm talking about the trolling motors on the end of the damn
motor.
power poles that look ugly as absolute shit.
Yeah.
Like, do
Well,
people even use them?
Yeah. What I think a lot of the guys were doing with it, they were like able to stop the boat and like back up and work that fish and keep bouncing it. That's what was a big thing our first term of the year, that a lot of guys, I guess they were saying they weren't allowed to do that because that was almost like trolling. You know, they would get a fish and they would work it and they would just keep backing up and they weren't ever really picking up any line and work that fish to the boat. But I mean, the crappie guys, they love them. They love it. They've had them for a few years now, and they just, I mean, that's their deal. But
it's all for forward facing sonar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I had them on, I would have them pointed forward, so I could go faster.
Yeah.
You know, I'd have them go forward and just let them rip.
Yeah, I mean that might be stay in crappy land. Like those things have no business on them. I've talked about this in past podcasts. It's like they're the stupidest thing, to catch maybe one more fish. Come on, like someone's got to ban those damn things.
Yeah, I think they did.
Someone was reaching in those.
Did they?
Well, yeah, I think Bass got rid of them. Yeah.
Did they? Oh,
yeah.
All
Bass got
right,
rid of
very
them.
nice.
Yeah,
very
Bass got rid of them. I'm pretty sure they did.
I hope I wonder if Bass Pro Tour did. Hopefully,
I feel like they did because
I think we got rid of live transducers on the jack plates.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's gone too.
Oh yeah,
for next year.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you just run to
right
there. They are.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I know. I think Tim Doobie was doing that a lot, or not down there, but he was doing it up here before he went down there for the elites.
Yeah.
But
I feel guilty when we were gator hunting the other day. I turned the side scan on. And I saw one go down. I went by him and I was like, "There he is!" And I slung that big hook out to him. And I was just like, I got him on, and I was like, "Oh, this is terrible."
All right, okay. How big was this gator? Did you say 8 feet or 6?
Oh no, we got a 10 this year and a 9.
Oh Jesus! Holy hell.
Yeah. We Tag Warehouse guys came down. We filmed some fishing for a few days, and then we went out for like, I don't know, 72 hours straight or something. We were like hardcore, didn't sleep. Like it took me like 5-6 days to recover from that trip. Like it was rough.
Yeah, that's sweet though.
That was
fun.
so much fun.
Little hunt. Do you need a license to gator hunt down there?
Yeah, so we had to put in. You have to get tags. So I got 2 tags this year, and it's for a really specific area. So I just had Lake Monroe. So it's just a small, it's like 7 miles by 7 miles or something. And then there was probably another 100 people had tags for that area. So it got a little crowded at times, and the gators get really smart. But that's what makes it fun. Like you hit them with a white light, they go down instantly. You have to turn your headlamp to red, and you got to like sneak up on them or try to bait them and get them to take a bait. It's a lot of fun.
All right, you said drop a huge hook.
He's like, all right.
Let's just pretend here for a sec that I know fucking nothing about alligators. All right, nothing.
We don't either.
How do you get into this? I mean, have you been doing it for a while, or wanted to do it for a while? How do you get into
so
something?
me and Keith, when we were in our 20s, we were watching Swamp People, and we're like, man, that looks cool. And we got tags, and man, we didn't know what we were doing. Like we were out there for like a month. We finally killed one, and I felt terrible. It was like it just wasn't. It wasn't a clean kill. Like we lost the bang stick tip. I like shot him in the eye. It was bad. So so it was like killing a dinosaur, and so I didn't do it for like. I mean, what is it?
A long time.
I mean, a long time. I like, at least 10 years. I just didn't do it. I was like, I like dinosaurs, whatever. And then I started going again, and it's that whole hanging out with your buds and then going to Waffle House in the middle of the night. That's what and it's cool. I like going.
That's fun. So do you eat them? Cooking the
Yeah,
meat.
I actually have forgot to pick up the meat now for 2 weeks, and the guy's charging me $5 a day to hold it. But I think I have like probably close to 200 pounds of meat. Like,
Okay.
and
Jesus.
I have one itty bitty freezer, so some's going to Keith's house, my parents, father-in-law, brother-in-law, everybody's gonna get some gator.
How many tags are you allowed to have?
You can get when you get drawn for two.
Okay.
And we held off too. Like we caught a lot earlier in the season,
Yeah.
some 5, 6, 7 footers, and we would just let them go, because we were like thinking, we're gonna try to get a little bit bigger one. And then once you use your tags, you can't go anymore. So we like waited. We kept one tag all the way till the last day, and then
Okay.
we took like a 9 footer the last day. So
What's the season? What
it starts I guess in September, I think. Maybe
Okay.
somewhere in there. Maybe there might have been a couple weeks in August. I was gone the whole time, so I missed the whole beginning part of it. And then when I got home from the tournaments, I started really going like in October. It was supposed to end in November, like November 8th, but we had all the hurricanes. The river was shut down. We weren't allowed to go, so then they changed it. They extended it all the way almost to Thanksgiving, which was crazy. So
Gotcha.
the two gators we got, they didn't even know the season was still. They thought it was over.
Okay.
They were like, and I was like, they're acting like they don't think we're gonna get them, and that's how we got them because we're terrible at it. We don't know what we're doing, but it
Yep.
was a lot of fun.
Did you say you filmed it?
Yeah, they Tech Warehouse has a couple times, and
Oh, okay.
this last time we just I don't know. The videos are a little rough.
Well, yeah, you don't put them on YouTube. Yeah, you
Yeah,
put them on
no,
like the
they're
outdoor
no good. I
TV
mean, they're cool
series
to,
or something. Yeah.
yeah, they're cool to like text to your buddies, but it's not good for the thing.
You can shut down real quick. Cancel real quick.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of like content and stuff, so little run to this side of the thing, this side of the business, right? So you've seen do you feel like there's a lot of more added pressure to do content personally now instead of on just doing the stuff on the trails and the professional series?
I mean, I
Does
feel
that make
like
sense?
I mean now I think the thing now there's so many guys doing this,
I
I mean,
know.
there's everybody's fishing now, which is great. And yes, I feel like you have to because you just don't know, like you think you have an okay year and stuff, and it just, to me, I feel like I have to like, anytime I feel like I have to work constantly, kind of,
Yeah. Yeah.
just to kind of, but it's fun. It's fun work. Like, like when Tag Warehouse came down and filmed, like, man, we went fishing like with my buds for a couple days and we shot videos. Like it was,
Yeah,
it
that's
was awesome.
Yeah. How do I get into that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hook a brother up, would you? I'm a
Yeah,
fun time.
yeah.
I can drink some beers. Let's go.
Yeah. Next time you come down. Yeah.
Just give me a camera. I'll film it for you. All right.
Yeah.
But you got to think about the landscape now of the professional sport, right?
Mhm.
You're seeing a lot of back in the day it was you follow the trails for the exposure.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that anymore. So everyone's now following the anglers, following the people instead of the sport.
Right.
And it's almost I don't want to. This is going to be a something that's going to sound worse than I want it to sound, but it's almost making the trails. What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Not necessary
Mm.
in a way, right? Like they're providing you an avenue to get your brand out there, but
Yeah.
a lot more people are now following because they want that quick fix. They want that quick 30-minute, 20-minute fix. They don't want to watch a 4-hour live.
Yeah.
And now it's really becoming about the brands instead of the professional trails, and that's kind of where I think it's going sideways. But what do you guys think about that? And are you trying to push more of your personal brands, or are you just hanging and going fishing and having fun?
Yeah. I mean, the thing I would say with the trails is that excitement level, being in the tournament, catching that fish, and having that camera on you. You can't make that happen out of the tournament. So I think that's like, when you get that, stuff comes out of your mouth, you can't control it. It's not, it's just whatever you're feeling is going to come out at that point in time, because it's just so different in a tournament. So I think that part, it's hard to replace that part. but yeah, I definitely do. I think people, people want quick. I think would really kill it, which I'm hoping to see. In the next few years, I wish we could get back to the recaps. Like we used to have Bassmaster TV show. 45 minutes. It was just action packed,
Yeah.
everything, and you remember. You remember those fish. Yeah, I mean, I remember Denny Brower catching, certain fish, Hackney, like all these people that I remember certain fish catch, almost like I caught the fish, and I think it's hard to get that with the 8 hours alive over all these days. I feel like
it's too much.
it is a lot.
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the 1 hour was the best. Back in the 1 hour TV show days, those were the
great.
best.
They were
Yeah.
great because it was
Yeah.
just all the
Storyline,
action.
too.
Right.
They built it up. They built
Right.
it up to the. You remember who won? You remember when Aaron Martins won that tournament? You remember, whoever lost and got like feeling heartbroken for that guy. I don't know if you get that anymore. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too busy. I'm not, but I feel like it's just so hard to follow it all.
It is. It is.
Being a fan myself.
Yeah. Oh, God, what was I going to say? Damn it. What were you talking about? What were you just saying? I just lost my complete train of thought. So there was an extension though now. So Bass just released the fact that they've gotten, a new deal to expand all their coverage, right? On different channels.
Right.
But I'm thinking it's going to be some of the same old stuff where you got, it's the live stuff. It's the 2 hours for, the afternoon, but then you got to go back online to see the rest of it.
Right.
It's like, I don't really understand that aspect of it. I know they want to get as much TV time as they possibly can for, obviously for sponsorships.
Right.
But like you said, like getting that 1 or 2 episodes, part 1 of the old FLW trail ones are awesome too.
Yeah. I like those. Yeah.
Those are more fun to watch. Get those on like a special, like Outdoor TV or Netflix. Do a deal with those guys for, limited series for that type of thing.
I think it would do really well. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of all this, you got to sit there and, I sit there at work, I have it on my screen and I do nothing all day. Just watch guys just sit there like this.
Yeah.
I have it in my headphones. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to wait for someone to start screaming or say, oh, fish on, and I'll stop watching it. But like, again, I'm kind of the guy that wants that instant gratification. I want to see the fish catch, and I want to see specific fish catches that matter. Not the ones that don't. But yeah, it's tough. It's turmoil, man. It's crazy right now.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
It's changed so much. That's kind of what also kind of pushed us to do some of the redfish stuff, just to kind of go back to the club tournament days. Like we got to the tournament in the morning, like man, I was nervous. I was like, man, I'm gonna bump into one of these guys, and they're gonna be like, who? Like, what are these guys doing here? Like it was, it was cool. I got that like jitters in the morning and stuff. It was,
no, but that's awesome, and I love that. And you're providing, more promotion at a different level, a different area for Crestliner or for Vexus. Jeez, it's like Crestliner, Christ sakes. Yeah. But that's how new it is, right?
Yeah.
So you're providing that different avenue, right? Not a lot of guys are going to use a Vexus. Did you see any other Vexuses doing the Redfish Tour?
I didn't see any.
Right.
We did get a lot of compliments
different.
though. There are a lot of guys were like, man, sweet boat, and they're like, they're pumped about it.
You're doing what you did for Crestliner back in the day, you guys are now doing for Vexus on the saltwater side. I'm going to say it right now. That's what you're doing.
I don't know if we can figure it out. Like the whole ride home, we were like watching because like we've been really fighting it. We're like, man, should we go with someone that knows what they're doing? Let them show it to us. Show us, give us some pointers. But we're like, man, if we could figure it out on our own, it'd be so. It might be different than what other guys are. Like I was using my smallmouth setup. A little jig head, little max scent and crawl. Like we don't. But we'll see.
And you're not documenting this?
Oh, we had Rob with us. We only caught the one fish. So Rob was like, what do I do with it? And I was like, I don't know. I guess we'll wait till the next one. And then, maybe if we catch them, maybe it might be all of ours combined into one, 10-minute video that we post.
Do you have to, are you in for the entire season? Do you have to pay up front for all that?
No, so we're actually we're jumping in just to qualify. I think we're going to do 4 of the qualifying ones to
Okay.
try to get to this championship, because that's the
Gotcha.
main goal. Go to the championship. That's where the big money's at. And the red fishing there is supposedly there. If you don't have 8-pounders, you're not even close. Like 7s
Gotcha.
or nothing there. So which sounds crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we caught a 4-pounder the other day. We're like,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, it was cool.
Well, what do you need to do to qualify? What are the qualifications for the championship?
We have to finish in the top 40% of the field.
40%.
So we missed it. This last one, we missed it by 4 places.
Ah.
Yeah, we were so close. We just need another fish,
Next
Did you
round.
have any other bites, or was that the only bite?
I think
that was the only
No. We'll edit that out.
Yeah.
That's the only one we had.
All right. So, all right. I guess I'm confused. So you said you got a place in the 40%, but is that per qualifying event, or is that for the entire season?
No, just in one. I think you have to fish at least 3, and in one of those 3, finish in the top 40% of the field.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well,
They made it.
With those
they made
4
it
spots,
easier.
though, are you going to be able to get in if people double qualify?
Maybe. I don't know.
We were still I've been calling. I feel terrible because I call the guys so much because I'm trying to figure it out. I didn't know you have to pinch the tail. You pinch the tail to make sure it doesn't touch.
Opposite of bass.
All right.
Yeah, and there's and then he tells me there's a tail pincher, and there's this giant golden rule we have to get. There's a lot to it, but we're learning it. We're getting all the stuff. We actually just got all our pen reels in the other day because we were using our bass stuff. But
why can't you use the bass stuff? Why not? Redfish are bass, aren't they?
They were fine. I mean, it was scary using a $500 spinning reel, and then hosing it off in the shower at night.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah,
That's fun.
That's good. That's the stuff you gotta. That's fun. That would be fun to watch. You guys get into it and knowing you're making mistakes and being like, "Oh crap, you gotta do this."
Yeah, that's what I think. Rob was really impressed that we didn't run aground or get really stuck because there was 4 guys. The guy who won ran aground. There was a lot of guys that had hard north wind. It blew all the water out. It was something else.
Yeah.
When was it? Was it last weekend?
Maybe last weekend.
Was that full moon too?
A week
Might have been
before.
right before. Yeah,
Week before.
I missed the MPFL practice the first day because we fished the redfish one and then I drove through the night to the next one.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
you caught a 7-pounder on your birthday.
Yeah, first 10 minutes. It was wild. Caught a crank. I'm like, I'm gonna catch 30 pounds today, and I had one other bite the rest of the day.
When's your birthday? Happy belated, by the way.
Do what?
When's your birthday?
It was December 12th.
December 12th. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm a fellow Sag.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to run out of power when they're on the water. There is a better way. Introducing the Charge Marine Power Management Station from Power Pole. Power Pole Charge.
But anyways, so what do you guys got going on right now? I mean, this is the off season. You're starting to prepare for, I guess this is the side of things that people don't really see is the prep for the next season.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So your prep is probably, it's stressing me out just thinking about it with all the tournaments you got going on, but you if I'm reading you correctly and remembering some of the conversation, you like to look at the schedules and see which ones you have a good shot at winning at, where it's going to fit your fishing style.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to schedule your travel around those events. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of them, it was I actually just started sending my schedule out to some of my sponsors, and they're like, "Wow, this gives me anxiety." They were like, "I was like, yeah, I know it's going to be a lot, but it's also fishing, so could be a lot worse." But
that's true.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just I really I'll have this next week off for Christmas and stuff, and then then we'll go grab our other boats and get them ready, and then we got another redfish one coming up right away. But I love it. I mean, that's when we started, when we were still in high school, we fished every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like we were finding a tournament. Like we'd work for Keith's dad like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then he would usually fire us sometime in there on Thursday. We'd fish the rest of the week. So it's just we've been doing it for so long, and there's no better practice than being in the situation. In the tournament situation, because there's a lot of stuff going on in your head. You fish differently. And I just,
agree.
try to get as much as I can, as long as we can.
Yeah. When how local are the Redfish tournaments?
So we're gonna go. We go Jacksonville in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll do. They do this online one that's really cool. You have to get their scale, their weigh bag. Go anywhere on the Gulf Coast. You can catch 3. They have to be under 9 pounds. You weigh them, and it's like you go live on Facebook, and then that you can qualify through that too. So that's pretty neat. And then
like a Tourney X thing.
I don't know what it's called, but it's similar. Yeah, it's just like and then the championships in Louisiana, and they got them. They're all down the coast stuff now. But I think most of the ones we're going to concentrate on are Florida, and then hopefully make that championship and go to Louisiana.
Yeah,
very nice.
Yeah.
And what's the longest drive next year for one of the tournaments?
Oof.
Like how far are you driving? Is that
For
Champlain?
Redfish?
Is that up here?
No,
for anywhere, for anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I go to St. Lawrence. It's like 20.
That's up there. That's up there.
21, 22 from Florida. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Mine would probably be, I think it might be La Crosse or
Lacrosse,
or maybe Oklahoma. Oklahoma I feel like Oklahoma's far. I don't know. Where's Oklahoma again?
Yeah. That's above Texas. I got family in Oklahoma. I might come down for that.
I feel like it's way out there. Anytime you drive from Oklahoma, you're like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get home?
It's just a tough drive. Like you go through a lot of nothing.
Yeah.
Like Mississippi and stuff. But yeah.
But most of my driving and Keith's too, like a lot of ours next year, like we'll drive, we'll fish a couple, and then we'll probably just fly home on some of them because they're just, any of the off days are only like 3 or 4 off days, and then you're back at it. So it's just easier just to leave your stuff and hope no one steals everything out of it.
Yeah.
Where would you leave it? You find like storage units or something, a garage?
No, like I'll
rental?
either leave it at someone that I know, like leave it at their house or whatever. A couple times I've been pretty frustrated, and I just parked at the airport, jumped on the plane, and came home. But I try not to. One time I did it in Missouri, and I came back and they mowed. I parked it in the grass. I like jumped up on they mowed around my truck, and no one said anything. No one wrote me a ticket. Nothing. Wow. And I was like, this is great.
You got a lot of trust in people, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, I was over it at that point.
Man.
I was like, I am done. I'm going to get a real job.
So are you guys more campground people or Airbnb people?
Airbnb.
Yeah,
What do you guys do? Airbnbs?
Yeah, that's...
Now, why is that?
I don't know. Why is that?
It's just easier. Like,
Yeah.
camping, it's sandy. You got a community shower. It's no kitchen, and
Well, I think we spent so many times either sleeping in the truck, sleeping in the bed of the truck, sleeping on someone's couch, not knowing where to stay a lot. So we used to stay in some really rough hotels.
Oh yeah.
Like some, I remember one, Keith was going in, we didn't have enough money to pay for it. And Keith's like, listen, we'll paint it. We'll bring our own towels. We'll bring our own soap. Like we were trying to work a deal out with the guy, you know? And man, it's just, nowadays it's, it's like, man, it's just, get some of our buddies, get the Airbnb, the cook. I actually, at NPFL, I got the room, I've been rooming with Tommy Biffle and David Fritz. So that's been just, you with legend, and they don't even I put YouTube on and I watch the old tournaments with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, they remember it like it just like it happened yesterday, and they like, man, awesome. It's cool getting to see that, to watch some of that with those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun to, and that's kind of the stuff that I want to see is more of the house stuff.
Yeah.
because everybody rooms together, everybody has a blast together. You got to show a
Yeah.
little bit more of that stuff because that's the fun stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of drama right now, and all the crap that it's just too much. Jesus Christ, it's too much, right? And I want to, you want to see the party stuff. What are you guys doing at night? You're hanging out at the
Yeah.
campfire, having a couple pops, doing some
Yeah.
live band karaoke. We want to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why I would be a horrible pro because
Yeah.
I first of all, I suck at fishing. Let's just get that out of the way. Secondly, I would be out hanging out with everybody until like the earliest parts of the world. Like I would be drinking all night. I'd be like, I can't not. I'm a yes man. I say yes to everything.
Yeah.
It would just be bad news.
Oh, it'd be bad.
It'd be fun for you guys, bad for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
But how? So, John, I know you have a family. Keith, are you married with kids at all?
Yeah, I just had a newborn. I got a 2-month-old little boy.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, we were actually gonna start the show. Keith was gonna have him in the Snuggie, and we were gonna be sitting on the couch here with him. But
that would have been nice.
He was feeding.
Yeah,
would have been nice. Get him on TV soon.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Levi.
Awesome. Congrats.
Also known as Little Keith.
Yeah.
Little Keith. Yeah.
That's what I mean. It looks just like him.
Yeah. Nice.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
John,
like him.
How many kids do you have, John?
I have 4 kids.
4.
Yeah, and then I have 2 grandkids. Yeah. Oh, nice.
You're a grandfather?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Do I look that old? Dude, look at my gray hair. Yeah, I got 2 of them. They call me Papa John.
You kidding me right now? I got more gray in this beard than you deer in that head.
Yeah.
Man, I got nothing up here. I'm bald.
Wow.
That's what happens when you join a fraternity and they make you shave your head.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I got a 7-year-old, and we're heavy into the hockey stuff right now. So
Oh yeah, that's cool.
it's taken. I've had to cut down on all the tournaments that I've been running with my brand.
Yeah.
The travel. We ran an awesome 2-day tournament in what the hell was it, on Chickamauga last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to do that every year, but I just can't. I can't do it because I'm into it right now with my son, and
Oh yeah.
I'm coaching 2 hockey teams. That's a joke for mites. Like it's a lot, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
So something had to give, and it was the stuff that wasn't really making me any money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But life gets in the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What is the biggest family challenge with getting in the work that you guys do?
Man, for me, it's trying to balance it. I feel terrible when like I have to miss like the soccer game or cross country or softball, whatever the kids are doing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, we could be living with grandma and grandpa right now, so it's like I gotta stay at it. So that's but they're pretty good. They fly out a lot, like on the weekends, and even if we're just riding somewhere and we're getting dinner, like at least we just make sure we connect and I'm not gone for like a straight couple weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do your grandkids call you?
Pop up John.
Papa John or Papa?
Pop. You go pop up John.
Papa. Oh,
Pop up
I
John.
got you.
Yeah.
Papa. Oh
Yeah,
man,
they talk my ear
That's
off.
gonna be the name of the episode. That's
Oh
it's
yeah.
gonna be. Papa Cox. So all right. So how long we've been talking here? We've been on for almost 2 hours. All right. So the last thing I kind of want to dive into, and we've kind of jumped around it in some of the conversation we've had today, but there's been so much drama around the sport of bass fishing over the last year, right? I don't want to talk about the drama. I want to talk about the future. Do you guys feel like these 3 trails are now on a path to kind of fix some of the issues they've had in the past And are anglers positive or negative about the future of each trail? It's a two-parter.
I think we're more. I think we're more positive now. Like the last few years, I mean, I could say I didn't particularly care for the entire electronic sonar, uh, trolling motor brakes on the power pole, like that era. You know, didn't
Yeah.
it's not my favorite. And now to see that limited somewhat, you know, in all the tours, you know, MPFL banned it completely. Cool.
Yep.
The elites limited it somewhat. You know, so that's cool. And then Bass Pro Tour, it's down over here. This is great. We're kind of getting back to fishing. You know, we lost a lot of that, the cool stuff, the whole frogging, the flipping, the stuff that got me into fishing. You know,
Yeah.
none of that was relevant because you would just go turn your sonar on and point it at the biggest fish you saw and throw a
Right.
jerkbait or a minnow to it, you know?
Right.
And so for me, it's heading in a more positive direction. For a guy that relies heavy on forward sonar, maybe it's not heading in a good direction for him. But you know, for me personally, I'm more positive on the outlook to see some of these regulations be put in place. You know, I'm happy for it.
Yeah, and I think we are. I think we are in some kind of, you know, where things are changing and stuff. You know, I almost feel like what we've gone through kind of been if you know, if the Alabama rig would have kept going in a lot of the big tournaments. I mean, it was. I mean, that was my worst year I ever. I had to quit that year because I did so bad. I lost all. You know, I finished every season except that season, and it was just because I could not hang with those guys anymore. You know, because it was just they were eating up so many of the checks, and I couldn't get for some reason I couldn't get it, and so I kind of feel like that's kind of where it's going now. We're kind of, you know, I think they're going to slowly start trying to turn it back to more fishing, and you know, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I feel like people are kind of. I think everybody seems a little more positive going into this next year. Of course, there's going to be some people that aren't, but
Right.
you know, you
Yeah.
always got to look on the positive side. Look on the positive
Yeah.
side, and you know, it's going to be a great year, great schedule with all the trails. You know, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how the MLF stuff goes. I'm excited to see
Yeah.
how NPFL turns out. We know,
Yeah.
and then Bass. I mean, Bass is going to be a lot of fun, like it always is. So,
Well, yeah, you're gonna get. You're gonna. I mean, I'd love to have a conversation with you at the end of this season because you're gonna kind of hear it from every trail, and
yeah,
kind of, you know, hopefully you're gonna be a fly on the wall for a lot of conversations about, you know, how people think the changes are going. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
yeah. We should circle back this same time next year, and we'll jump on and we'll see, and yeah, and we'll see how it went, and you know. And then we could even talk about the new. I'm sure there's going to be more changes going into the next year.
Probably.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're definitely in a transitional period in the sport.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a handful of years for it to flatten out again,
That's
for
right.
everybody to be happy. But this also, I wonder how, and I'm interested, I love data, and I'm interested to see how these changes are going to affect the rookies now.
hmm
Because these rookies, a lot of them heavily relied on front facing
Right.
sonar. So we don't really know what their other techniques, what they're capable of with other techniques.
hmm
Do you think it's going to impact them more or less? Do you think
I
it'll
think
have a
so.
big impact?
I think some will be impacted tremendously with it.
Yeah.
But I think there are. I mean, there's some of these rookies are just they are going to catch them no matter what, whether take it away from them or not. They're just, you know, I mean, they're just good, you know. And I think a lot of them, will shine without it, and I think it'll really help them. I think in the long run, because right now it's really hard. I feel like to everybody's kind of, you know, I mean, I don't know. Some people are better at it and stuff, but I think those guys that are truly really good coming up, that are really good anglers without it, you know, now we'll actually be able to see what they can do, you know, and it'll be good. You know, it'll be good to see,
Yeah.
you know, some of these guys,
Yeah.
and a lot of the same guys that were winning with it are going to win without it, because I mean, you know, some of them guys are just that good, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it'll
Well,
be neat. It'll be really neat to follow next year. I think it's going to be, you know, one of the most exciting seasons so far.
it will. It's almost been a big old soap opera for the last year.
Yeah.
And, you know, while some of it is kind of, I'm going to say exhausting, you know, maybe it's put a lot more eyes on the sport. You know, they always say, you know, negative publicity is still publicity, right?
Right.
So with all these podcasts and all these, ideas floating around and opinions, it's really put a lot of visibility, a lot of it negative on the sport, but it's still visibility. So I'm wondering if that's going to play into future sponsorships, or maybe that played a role into the Bass viewership, right? Because they're saying that there was so much more viewership this year on the TV and the shows, that it helped build that relationship even further for them to align on a new deal for next year. So it's odd, they always say the YouTubes that get the most views are the ones with Karens on the docks. So everyone loves to see that stuff. They love controversy. They love bringing it up. And this year had a lot of it. It was interesting it was frustrating, but it was interesting to follow some of those storylines. But especially since we had a local in the elites this year, we had Tim Doobie in there, so I fished against him for years. And he was down there, so I was picking his brain every once in a while, being like, "Dude, what is going on down there?" But yeah, it's just wild, man. It's wild. You guys are in a wild sport. I don't know how you do it, man. If anyone new getting into this is probably thinking twice and being like, Jesus,
that's what was kind of, I felt bad for a lot of the newer guys that that were had to deal with all that. I can't imagine coming in and having people just mad at the way you're fishing and stuff. So.
Yeah.
I always try. I'm like, good job. Still they're still
winning.
Yeah, still winning, still catching them.
Yeah. And again, there's 3 trails that do 3 different things.
Yeah. Right. So whatever
that's
you
good.
Want to do,
you can go do it.
Do it.
Correct. Exactly. And that's I think that worked out in everybody's favor. Nobody knew what everybody was going to do about the forward-facing sonar, and it worked itself out. I doubt all 3 of them talked and were like, "All right, let's do this. You guys do this, and you do that." They all came up they all came up with their own decision to say, "All right, we're going to do this and this." And guess what? Now it's different for everything. And you like forward-facing sonar? Go fish a trail that has forward-facing sonar.
Yeah.
You don't? Go fish the MPFL or try to get into it, because it's pretty. It's very attractive to a lot of people. And then I'd love to see what the age range of the winners are for MPFL next year versus what they have been historically with forward facing too. Right. Are you going to see guys that are better with those old school techniques do better than guys that came in just with sonar? It's crazy. Maybe we'll get a lot more of those hook sets of the year, John. You're gonna have to work on those hook sets for next year.
Yeah, funny story about that, man. I made so many casts that it was almost like I'm not going to get a bite. And then when I would get a bite, it would scare me to death. And I'd be all sweating. My hand comes all the reel. I was like, It was wild. It was the most fun all year.
Yeah, but that again, Keith, you mentioned it earlier. Like, that's the stuff that got us into the sport. That's the exciting stuff. I mean, I'm not going to go forward-facing sonar fishing. I don't like that bite.
Right.
Yeah. I like a swim bait bite. I like a friggin' frog. I like a plopper bite. On a river. That's the fun stuff, because it's an adrenaline rush instead of just a tiny peck on a spinning reel. It's like, what is going on here?
Right.
But on that aspect too, that's my style of fishing. I'm a power guy. I love the hunt. I love big fish. That is pushing me to go look at other species now. Like, all that drama, it's like, the tournament scene for me up here is tough, especially running my own trail. I don't have the time to go do the other trails that I want to. Even, the bass, the nation stuff, like, it's just tough for me to get into that. So that's the YouTube stuff that me and my son are doing. We're going to do, it's called the freshwater. This is an exclusive for all you guys. Nobody knows about this yet. It's called the Freshwater Adventure Series. He's 7, and we're going to go out. There was a book that we bought him when he was really young. Ike and Ellie Foundation helped out with this book. I don't know if you guys know what book it is. It was a freshwater book that had like a bunch of animated freshwater species at the back of the book. I think there were like 30 or 40 different species. We're using that book and logging all the times we catch them, like all the times he catches them, like what date, what lake, and all that stuff. We're actually going to go out and film us doing all that. Wow. So it's going to take us, I don't know how the hell we're going to do it. Like, we have no budget. Like, it's such a low budget film. It's a riot. I'm using Canva and like iMovie from 2011 to write
Yeah.
to do this stuff.
Nice.
But it's gonna. The idea is to put a bunch of stuff together, but take trips and do it with my kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to go.
Yeah.
We're gonna take some trips to go. Get some walleye in Ohio. We're gonna go down and get some sturgeon somewhere in like the Ohio River or something. Like all that fun stuff, but it's gonna last forever. Like this is almost an idea just to again get my kid out in the outdoors, have some fun with it. He wanted the YouTube series, so I'm checking that box.
Yeah.
But I get to hang out with my kid who loves to catch fish. So it should be a good time, and that should take us a couple years to get a bunch of different species. So it should be fun.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
But that's why I want to do it. Is to go catch fish that are going to give me a challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't typically like redfish is probably going to be on our saltwater series because redfish are friggin' awesome.
Hey, maybe by the time you guys are ready for that, we'll know how to catch them.
Maybe we'll come down and jump in the boat with you.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah,
but that's what it's all about, man. The bass fishing is almost the marijuana drug. It's it gets you into the sport, but then you're like, you know what? Let's go try something else. Let's go catch something else. It's the gateway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you always go back to it. You always miss it, so you go back to it.
Yeah.
But anyways, it has been 2 hours. I know I like to ramble. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if you guys know much about my brand, the Aluminum Fishing Series. I kind of do this at the end of most of my podcasts, but we're a tournament trail brand. I started this in 2015, just with a small, 4 or 5 boat club in New Hampshire. Grew it to a 60 event series in 8 states at one point, and then had to dumb it down a little bit once my son got a little older. But now we're just doing a bunch of opens in the Northeast. I'm kind of concentrating in the Northeast. I have that brand visibility to go down south for a specialty tournament, or two, every other year or so. So if you guys ever want to partner on, an open down there, I'd love to do it. I've been directing, for, 9 years. I manage it all by myself. So I love doing it. I love giving people an avenue to have fun and just come together with their aluminum boats. It's a hobby. I'd love to make it a job. I'm kind of stuck in the corporate world right now, but this is always fun for me. It's brought me to have conversations with, people like yourselves, Keith Poche, Ott Defoe. I talked to Gussie, after his classic win. So, it's a lot of fun for me to understand your world, and, have a little bit of it up in the north. So, I really appreciate you guys coming on. You guys check out John Cox Fishing. Is it just John Cox Fishing on Instagram and Keith Carson on Instagram? I want to get it right, so let me get into it real quick. It's John Cox _fishing.
Oh yeah. There's a couple
on
John
Instagram.
Coxes on there.
There's also multiple John Coxes on the MPFL. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And his bio's a riot. He's like, I am not from Florida, but I love getting the calls when he wins.
Yeah.
And then Keith, yours, Keith _Carson with 2 N's. 2 N's. So you guys check them out.
Taken.
Yeah.
I feel like I push everybody to Instagram because that's where everybody kind of settles. And you can find everything from Instagram.
Right.
So, if you want to, promote something else, please feel free now.
I can't even get into Facebook, so I don't know.
Yeah.
They locked me out of there.
And mine's been hacked.
Yeah.
Apparently I'm posting all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
My mom's calling me and she's like, what did you post? You're selling knives and
Oh my God. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Facebook's pretty brutal right now. Yeah.
It really is.
Actually, I think I started with your Facebook and it sent me to the wrong Gmail account.
Oh yeah.
So that's what it was.
Probably did. I don't know who's logged into that one.
But again, so just to recap, you guys are now Vexus owners, or Vexus Pro staff too. So we wish you luck in your aluminum series, your aluminum vessels. I'd love to see that walkthrough when you're done with it.
We're gonna, as soon as it stops raining. We were gonna do it today. It started pouring, but hopefully tomorrow we'll get out there. I want to do one where we can show, how shallow it gets up on plane, how much it like some cool stuff, so we can see,
You like
Somebody's-
underwater footage?
Yeah, well, Rob's got all this stuff. Rob, like,
Yeah. But
he's
you
got
don't
all
see
this
that
stuff.
often.
Yeah, that's
You
why
don't
I'm like,
see
man, we
that,
can
yeah.
show, like, I can get out in the water. You know, we can show when it bottoms out. Like,
Everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can show some cool stuff. So
Yeah, that'd be cool. We're
Yeah.
excited to see it. We're
Yeah.
excited to see it. Well, again, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank
no
you.
problem.
Thanks.
I had fun. You know, maybe we can catch up at some time in the future and have a couple beers.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Hey,
All right.
by the way, I want to send you guys a couple hats.
Oh,
you
yeah,
mind.
nice. Yeah.
Who wants the one I'm wearing?
I'll take a fresh one.
I'll get you a fresh one. I'll get you a fresh one.
Okay.
John, if you want to send me your address and email, that's fine.
Okay,
And
I'll do that.
I'll edit this out at the end of the video, anyways.
Okay.
Again, you guys, season 3 of the Aluminum Fishing Series podcast with John Cox and Keith Carson. Stick around for more this year, and thanks for listening.